What's up, guys? It's Break Shift, and I've got another fun deck to share with y'all. For a little while, I've been getting the itch to have one last hurrah with the boys, and by that, of course, I mean the Sons of Horus. These fellas, these guys have fallen out of favor. They were all over the place when they first came out. People were using them in stun decks, which was very cringe. People were using them to just spam out bodies for link combos, which was very cringe. And people used them to make zombie vampire and bridge into anything, which was also very cringe. But there were cool things that you could do with these cards. These guys actually have on-field effects that are pretty good, and they are repeatable, of course. You can summon them out of the graveyard every single turn as long as you have a King Sarcophagus on the field. And you could actually just use them as parts of an end board. And I really enjoyed using these cards a lot, but the big problem you would always run into, and part of why they're not seen so much anymore, is that you have to play these bricky cards here, the Hoppy and the Dwamatef, and if you're going to play Kebisenuef as well, those are really bad cards to draw. And on the other hand, drawing King Sarcophagus, technically, that's a starter, but you have to discard a bunch of cards and it doesn't feel super great. And Imseti, while he is obviously the best starter because he gets you King Sarcophagus while putting himself in the grave for free, is the worst thing in the world when your opponent has an Ash Blossom. It's absolutely devastating. And eventually, the various stupid uses of these cards that I mentioned previously, they kind of got supplanted. If you just wanted some free bodies and maybe to make a rank 8, just use the Millennium. Nowadays, even we have the Shining Sarcophagus engine, which gets you like a Dragoon if you want it, and other stuff on top of that. You can search Magician Souls. There's lots of ways to do all that lame stuff. But if you're actually trying to do like the control-oriented build of these guys, nobody's really interested in anything like that. So I had to take it upon myself to come up with some way to fix the problems that they had about being able to access the engine. And what I came up with is a sort of Horus combo control thing. It's a bit weird. I'm not sure how exactly I'd classify this deck. But we have a couple one-card combos now that will get us to a King Sarcophagus with cards to discard to set these things up, of course. And it's also going to summon Centurion Auxilla, who is important because this card says that face-up cards in your spell and trap zone cannot be destroyed by card effects, so that will protect the King Sarcophagus. And it also searches the True Awakening, which is just a counter trap that negates a spell trap or monster effect. So that's pretty decent, right? What's the combo look like? Well, there's two different ways we can do it. The first one is just with the Ancient Fairy Dragon stuff. Regulus the Fairy Beast adds the field spell adds the Spore gets summoned by Regulus, makes itself a level 3, you make AFD pops the field spell, adds the Horus field spell, Walls of the Imperial Tomb, which is treated as King Sarcophagus, and during the main phase you get to add a Horus monster and then put a card from your hand back on the bottom of the deck. So that gets you to your Imseti. Imseti, of course, gets you the King Sarcophagus, and it's pretty unlikely that the opponent has held an Ash Blossom through this whole combo that you just did, so he'll almost certainly resolve if you've made it to that point. But then, of course, we're not done with the Ancient Fairy Dragon stuff because the Spore can bring itself back out of the graveyard. As a level 1 tuner, you can sync it with the Ancient Fairy Dragon to make an 8, that being Centurion Primera Primus, who can add an Emblema card on summon. We'll add Emblema Oath. Oath will put Atri into the back row from our deck. Atri can summon itself, and then even though they're both tuners, Atri can treat itself as a non-tuner. So you use those two to make your Auxilla, and then Auxilla can add the True Awakening. That's the whole combo, except also when you're done with that, you can use the Regulus effect Engrave, target a field spell, put it back, and draw a card, so you get one free discard for the King Sark on top of everything. And this was initially what I found, and I liked it a lot, but this card is unsearchable, and obviously you don't really have a deck if all we're doing is hoping we draw this unsearchable normal summon. So I really wanted to find another way to do the same combo, that is to put a field spell on the field, summon Ancient Fairy Dragon, and then be able to make an 8 afterwards. And it turns out there is actually another way to do that. using some psychic cards. So we've got Mind Procedure here. This guy came out not too long ago. He can treat himself as a non-tuner as well. That doesn't really matter. What does matter, though, is that if he's normal summoned or special summoned by a monster effect, keep that in mind. That means you can't E-tele him out to use his effect. You pay 2,000 and then you add a teleport, normal, or quick play spell. So, of course, we're adding emergency teleport. And then when we use the emergency teleport, we're going to get our Psyreflector. This is a classic synchro engine at this point. This guy's been around for a while. Normally what you do with him is you add Assault Beast, and then Assault Beast adds Assault Mode Activate, which you can reveal to revive the Assault Beast from your graveyard. There's a problem with that, though. This guy's a level 3, Psyreflector's a level 1, and Assault Beast is level 4. So we would want to go 4+3 to make the Ancient Fairy Dragon and have our level 1 left over to make the Centurion. But something I did not know until I was trying to build this deck, if you special summon from the graveyard with Psyreflector's effect, this level increase is mandatory, and you can't choose 0. You have to choose a number from 1 to 4. Ridiculous. It ruins the whole line, and it's a big shame because not only would that combo have worked, we would have gotten the free Assault Mode Activate trap in hand to discard for our King Sarcophagus. But luckily there is a different, slightly less good way that we can still make the combo work. Instead of adding the Assault Beast, we're going to add this new guy, Assault Sonic Warrior. And actually, that's not even true either, because of course we do need a field spell to get to the Ancient Fairy Dragon, so Psyreflector is just going to stop by at the Duel Evolution Assault Zone field spell first, and then this adds an Assault Mode Activate, or a monster that mentions Assault Mode Activate. So he gets the field spell gets Assault Sonic Warrior. Because we'll control a monster that mentions Assault Mode Activate, we can special summon him, and then when he's summoned, he adds a Synchron, which is going to be the Assault Synchron, who can just summon himself for free at the cost of 700 damage, and then he Synchro locks you. So through great effort, we'll end up in a similar scenario where we'll have the level 3 Mind Procedure, the level 2 Sonic Warrior, the level 2 Assault Synchron, and the level 1 Psyreflector. We can use the 3 and the 2 to just make whatever 5 that's a tuner here. That'll be the Silent Psychic Magician here. Or, excuse me, we don't want it to be a tuner, but this guy can treat himself as a non-tuner. I could not find a single level 5 that did something relevant. This guy has an effect where he can bring back a Psychic from grave. That might matter if your other plays get interrupted. It's not super important. We're making this guy. This guy then is going to sync with the 2 to make our Ancient Fairy Dragon. We'll pop the field spell to add the walls, and then we have the leftover Psyreflector to make the Primera Primus. So those are the 2 different ways we can get to the combo. We're playing 3 Emergency Teleport as well here because while I mentioned that this guy, his effect won't work if you summon him off of the Emergency Teleport, if he gets interrupted, you can use this to get the Psyreflector anyway. And this is also pretty decent hand trap bait. People will hit this card with Ash. So, in fact, that's kind of one of the strengths of this deck in general, actually, is that a lot of these cards are very good hand trap negates, or hand trap magnets, excuse me. Like the Regulus people like to hand trap this card because they don't really know what it does, and you commit your normal summon to it. It's not at all crazy to think, hey, maybe I just cut this off here and they have nothing. And in a lot of cases, you would have nothing if you were playing a deck that was reliant on this. But we can just have drawn one of our King Sarks or our Mseti or something, and then we just set that up, and we have taken a card out of the opponent's hand, and we are going to hand trap them to death, because there's a lot of room for a non-engine. We've got 3, 6, 9, 12 hand traps in here. You can swap these around for whatever ones you want, of course. It's very reasonable to just hand trap your opponent a bunch and then recur stuff with the King Sark, and you win that way. So that's pretty much it for the main deck. I think I've covered all the cards in here. In the extra deck, we've got a couple synchros that just will come up every now and then that you might want to go into. We've got the Centurion Legatia as well if we don't need the Auxilia Search. This card, it's bigger, it pops a card, it draws a card. Very nice. We also have the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. And then there's a handful of rank 8s too. Of course, we got Giant Trainer, we've got Galaxy Eyes, we've got the Zombie Vampire, and we also have this card, which is a pretty funny card. It is sort of like an Abyss Dweller as a rank 8. It gets really, really big, 100 attack and defense for each monster in the graveyard. If you've done your normal combo, there will be a lot of monsters in the graveyard. And once per turn, you can detach one material. Until the end of the opponent's next turn, it can't be destroyed, and neither player can special from the graveyard. Pretty strong effect. I know it's Floodgate's a little bit cringe, but at least it's a funny one because no one ever sees this card. So that's what we're working with here. I've got a few replays. I am still stuck in Diamond. This deck was like about 50-50, I guess I would say, winning and losing in Diamond. But the funny thing is, normally I like to start with a replay where I just do my basic combo, the opponent tries to play into it, and it's not enough to just showcase the basic gameplay of the deck. I just could not get a replay like that because people were scooping left, right, and center. When I started going off, they would just scoop, even though the combo's nothing that crazy. Anyway, we drew both of our starters here. Since I already have the Dual Evolution Assault Zone, I figured I'll go through the Regulus line, and this one also nets us the additional draw with Regulus's Graveyard effect. We also drew the Emblema Oath, but that's not actually a big deal because we can just put that back with the Walls effect, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So we get our Imseti, we put away the Emblema, and we can immediately retrieve it with the Centurion. Activate the Emblema, bring it out, and at this point he reveals it had been toggling back to him. I was kind of trying to suss out what it was. It's some Canine cards. So he has the ability to quick effect make a rank 5 at this point. So I just decided I'm going to go for the Legatia here because he gave me a window. Now I get to pop one of his cards. It's too late for him. If he were to Xyz summon, it'd be over. That's the closest I've got to me just going off and him losing. At that point, you can see he wouldn't have enough cards left in hand. We already drew an Ash Blossom. We haven't even done our Horus stuff yet. We have a ton of gas in the tank. There you go. That was the closest thing I got that wasn't just someone scooping when I set up. So the rest of these replays are not me just doing the combo to show off some of the other options that you can do with the deck. Here we are going second. Only drew the one hand trap. Kind of a pretty terrible hand in general, actually, for going second, but Fulos is pretty strong. So the opponent is playing some sort of Dragoonity combo deck with the new Dragoonity stuff. This is the only guy I've run into on this. I think these cards are actually pretty good, but it's just there's so many other better combo decks right now that people don't really want to play this. But he's going to start popping off here, doing all sorts of stuff. He hasn't given me any draws yet. So we'll just fast forward a little bit here. He gets a Sheena in hand, and then he is going to pass with a Mysterious Back Row as well. So I know that he's got the Sheena. I can't exactly expect to kill him easily from this point. So we're just going to start out here doing the E-Tele play, grabbing some bodies. We're fully expecting all of these to be coming back to our hand at some point. I'll put back the Spore. Obviously, that's no good in the hand. Don't really need the Mind Procedure anymore. He has a Magnemut as well. That's going to keep my Imseti out of the graveyard. Unfortunate. But luckily, even though Imseti is vulnerable to Bestials, he's the one you want to play multiples of, so if they get rid of one of them, it's not the end of the world. You can just dump another one later. Anyway, now we're going to go ahead and do the Regulus line too. I'm just trying to get the Sheena out, and finally he decides that there's enough material on the board. So there we go. Sheena going to bounce everything. And I'm going to use King Sark now. I have all these cards in my hand that I don't really need anymore. So get the Hoppy out. Hoppy is usually the one you want to establish first. That way, if they have something that's going to remove like your King Sark, the Hoppy can recycle it. Throw down the Assault Synchron, and we get to make ourselves a Baron here. I'm just going to get rid of the last back row, but it's actually a Forbidden Droplets, and he's going to send his whole hand here. Not sending the Sheena from grave. A bit of an odd choice. I guess he's hoping that if he makes these things smaller, I won't be able to deal with the Sheena, but I can just use the King Sark effect for that. So I'm not exactly sure what that was all about. Anyway, we can use the Emblema to get out our 4, and now we can go ahead and make another 12. Legatia in this case is going to be more useful. We draw a card. Regulus effect, we're going to draw another card. But unfortunately, we don't have lethal. If I had Kebesenuef in the deck, I'd be able to kill him here, but I don't. So instead, I'm going to pass here. He has 600. We're going to bring back the Atri. And there's his search, another Sheena off of the Magnemite. So now he's going to reveal his own King Sarcophagus. Discard the Sheena. He's got a Hoppy of his own now. And so at this point, I know that he's threatening the Baron, but I deliberately let him do this because it gets rid of his battle phase, and now I won't die. If I use the Baron to negate the King Sarcophagus, he can use his field spell to apply both of these effects because you have Dragon Ravine in the graveyard, and that's going to do a combo that will definitely put up enough stuff to kill me. So by forcing him to spend his battle phase, I buy myself an extra turn. So he is just going to go absolutely ham here. Put the speed up on. Going into the Link monster. Getting the Divine Lance. He can still pay for his Zephyros there, barely. Puts him down to 200. Just doing typical Dragoonity stuff. We're equipping, we're summoning, we're equipping, we're summoning. This deck's kind of crazy. Get our old friend Guard Dragon Pisty out. Triple Burst, the worst Link monster you've ever seen, but it's good because it's a dragon with a downward pointing arrow. He makes Ascalon, he makes the new guy Georges. This guy is like a Necro Valley. Let me read exactly. While it's equipped with a Dragoonity card, your opponent can't activate cards in the graveyard. But luckily, summoning via King Sark isn't activating. That's an inherent summon for the Horus guys, so I can still use them. This guy here, Ascalon, can just banish my monsters by banishing Dragoonities from grave. He's got his own Baron, and then he's going to start banishing my stuff. He goes for the Legatia first for some reason, which does give me a chance to use Hoppy here. He could negate, but he decides not to. Probably a good choice. I get the Assault Synchron and the Walls of the Imperial Tomb back, in case he gets rid of my King Sark with the Baron, which he does. I want to be able to make sure I can still summon my Horus guys. He has to pass there, since he already used his battle phase. I draw Called By, which is actually pretty good for this exact reason. I can use it on his spheres, and this will actually draw out the Baron negate, which is good. I needed to get that out of the way sooner or later. But that does mean that the spheres will resolve, of course. He puts the Regulus back in my hand. I don't really care. Regulus isn't doing that much anymore, but the summon from deck is Quackimary Dragu. So I cannot summon light or dark monsters anymore, which means my Imseti is frozen in the graveyard. So we're going to activate the walls here. We're going to bring out the Dwamatef, and that lets him summon from the extra deck this guy, which is a monster negate. I can get rid of the Drago there with my battle phase, which lets me get the Imseti back out. I'm trying to get to 3 level 8 so that I can make a Coach King Giant Trainer here and just burn him. But he is going to get rid of my Assault Synchron here. I have to go for the Centurion Atri at this point. Again, if I was playing Kebesenuef, actually, I would just be able to very easily get the extra 8 out and kill him. I still don't think it's right to play it most of the time, but kind of crazy, the situation I find myself in. So we get negated a couple more times. We're going to make our Sanafond here. Sanafond detached. Look how big this thing is. He did a huge combo. I did a big combo. It's massive. So he's going to go to destroy my Atri. That will threaten my Centurion True Awakening, so I'd rather lose the Imperm instead. Then he's going to try to banish my Sanafond, and that's what the True Awakening is for. So the Sanafond is protected. And don't forget as well, of course, this can't be destroyed by card effects, but the Ascalon banishes, so it would have gotten rid of the Sky Prison that way. He goes into the Vajrayana. Going to continue to do some plays here and pulling things in and out of the graveyard, manipulating the attack. This is a ridiculous situation we end up in here. Look at this. 42 versus 44. But none of the things he has here can get rid of the Sanafond. If he can't be bigger than the Sanafond, he can't actually kill it. But he can banish this guy out of the graveyard and then equip that from the graveyard, which makes them exactly equal. And at that point, he could have crashed with Borreload and killed me, I think. maybe there's something that's preventing him from attacking, but the obvious thing that I could have done too to avoid that is just summon this thing in D mode, 4800 defense. It has slightly higher defense for some reason. So call it a wash, I guess. I should have just put this thing in D mode and then he wouldn't have had any choice. But he's going to pass back to me here. Baron going to tag back into the Drago, but at this point I can simply beat over and kill him. So an absolutely insane duel. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. The Sanafond lock from Grave, by the way, is what kept him from just summoning back his own Horus guys and outing my Sanafond with the King Sarcophagus effect. So a completely ridiculous duel. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. Moving on to the next one here. This time I'm going second again. And here's the hand. Honestly, it's not the worst hand, you know. The opponent is on Yummy, so he's got a called by for our Fulos. We got plenty more where that came from, buddy. Here's a second Fulos. This one will resolve, and we've got the Imperm as well, of course. So he's going to go ahead and go into the Link 1. I draw a Regulus, which is amazing. I don't mind using the Imperm here at all. Sometimes you get into an interesting position with the Charmies or the Max C where you want your opponent to play a little bit more so that you'll draw more cards so that you can get to something that'll be a good starter for you. But luckily we just got one on our first draw there, so we're chilling. We draw the Emergency Teleport as well. Fantastic top deck. So I'm using this again, just trying to bait some hand traps. This isn't combo on its own, but we've got the normal summon Regulus to work for that. He does, in fact, use a Dominus Purge here on the Sire Reflector, and I'm just going to slam down the Regulus now. That gives me everything I need. We'll even have a free additional body with the Sire Reflector, so that opens up some other possibilities of things that we might do. So AFD gonna get us the Assault Zone this time, since we have that Sire Reflector up. We can summon this guy out, we get the Assault Synchron, and yeah, we could do a lot of stuff there. We were probably going to have like Baron, or maybe we were going to make a Pep or something. I didn't actually mention it, but the Assault Mode Field Spell has an effect where you can pay 2,000 to basically do nothing, because we're not playing any other Assault Mode cards. But you can just do that to lower your life points a bit if you are going to go into a Pep line and make your Pep a little bit bigger, or maybe that's what you need to make him unaffected. The Mind Procedure also makes you pay life points, so Pep can be pretty decent. Last replay here, we're going first. Again, we're going to start with Emergency Teleport here, which is not a true starter, but it does get you some stuff. Activate the field spell, add the Assault Sonic Warrior. We're going to get him out. I'm going to add the Assault Synchron, summon the Assault Synchron, and then I'm actually going to Tribute Summon the Dwamatef and sync him off with the Assault Synchron to make a Baron. Pretty crusty, but the other three cards in my hand are like extremely high quality, so one Baron plus Called by Maxi Ash is actually not that bad. The opponent activates Hidden Armory. Of course I'm going to Ash Blossom that. I know that he can't normal summon now, which is great news for me. And the only deck that really plays this is Makanko, of course, and he sent a Makanko card, so I know what the score is. I'm going to negate the Shinbu as well. That card is much too strong. I don't want him to get the Foolish. I don't want him to get the set. He bluffs Battle Phase, but he has nothing, so that's going to pass there. We top deck Regulus. Pretty good. Go ahead and summon him down. We can get off the ground here. Pay 2,000, just in case I'm going to go into that Pep line. My life points don't really matter versus Makanko. If they're dealing any damage to me, they are super killing me. We can go ahead and make the Primera Primus. This is pretty much just going to be like a full combo situation, just as if it was turn one. This was from a different build where I was testing a larger Centurion package. Primera, though, cannot be counted as a non-tuner, so I couldn't use her here to make the 12 if I wanted to. The upside of this was that you could get Banishment, or whatever it's called. The other trap, the one that banishes a card. But anyway, More than enough damage here. We wipe him out. Obviously, if he tried to play more, I would have been drawing more cards off the Max C. We had a called by to potentially stop combos. So, pretty decent for what was a really bad hand, but that's the deck. Hope you guys enjoyed the profile and the replays. I don't think I'm going to be able to play Horus anytime soon again after this. It was pretty scuffed, even as is here. I really love these cards, but who knows? Maybe there will be something that revitalizes them again in the future. Until then, I think this is going to be the last hurrah for these guys. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed everything, and I will be back later with some more decks. So until then, peace.